The X1 Pro and Max now have a new cycling mode, an indoor follow mode, Dolly Zoom, Find My Drone and much more with updates to manual flying modes, beacon and joystick. In this video I'm going to explain the main aspects of all of these and test whether or not they're any good. And please stick around to the end because I'm also going to have a test of the new manual features, the extras and the firmware. But I'll explain how to download and install the updates in the right order, which is really important. And why am I doing this on a cycling-focused channel? It's because I think the X1 Pro is simply a fantastic way to capture your cycling adventures. The X1 Pro has been my go-to drone for content creation since I was sent it to review. Now, at the start of 2025, there's been a host of firmware updates which have brought several new features to the X1 Pro and Max. If you can't see the new flight modes in the app, check this button and then make sure you have activated those features. We'll go through them now. Cycling mode is almost the same as the existing follow mode, except for one key difference. You can specify whether you're in an open area or on a narrow route. The choice makes little difference on a straight course like this because it's designed for a winding path. On the open area setting, it flies a direct overview course, whereas on narrow routes, it'll follow your pattern more closely. This is how the difference is shown on the HoverAir website, with the narrow routes following the cyclist track more precisely. I've ended up testing this several times on different bikes in progressively more confined areas, culminating in this one. I brought my mountain bike to an area that is so congested with trees and the passage so narrow I would normally not even think about flying a drone here. But if we set it on cycling mode on narrow routes and keep it close, we'll see how it does. I think it does well. There are trees either side of this single track, and if you watch my movement, the X1 Pro gets to where I have been and then does its turn. Looking back at the footage, I think it's doing a very good job in a challenging environment, one which I haven't ridden in quite a few years. Well, as you can tell, I've not done this for a while. I'm going to add the beacon now and see if that makes much difference, but I'm impressed so far. If you connect the beacon rather than your phone, it supposedly gives you a better connection to the X1 Pro. You get a video screen and you can see what that is showing. You can put the beacon, you can clip it to your jersey, or there's a handlebar mount which I'm going to use. In the first few of these beacons, there were clearly a few problems and mine didn't work that well, but HoverAir seemed to have that sorted now, because this one works great. As we'll see later, you can use it to take emergency control, and it has another trick on its up its sleeve. I think that was a really tough test for cycling track on its narrow route. It definitely works best if you have it close to you and on a flat shot. I think anything higher or further away runs a risk of a crash. If you're finding this helpful, I have just one request. Could you watch until the end, please? That's all that YouTube now seems to care about. Give me a thumbs up as well, I suppose. That helps too. Thanks. So what if you do crash? There are now 2 Find Drone features. The X1 has hit something, but a great thing about having the beacon running is that as well as being able to see what the drone was looking at, I get this screen, which is part of Find Drone. I'm in the middle. It shows me which way I'm facing or walking, and I can home in. So it says it's 7 meters, 8 meters. So that says I am less than 3 meters from the X1, and wouldn't you know, it's right there. You can also find your drone using your phone screen. To be fair, the map is not particularly detailed, but what is useful is that blue field of view, because I'm clearly walking back up towards it. And as I get nearer, there it is right in front of me. And that works as long as the battery stays in your drone and the drone stays powered on. Dolly zoom might not be immediately obvious as to what that flight mode is. It's a specific type of effect that is done in camera usually, where the camera moves in at the same time as it's being zoomed out, or vice versa. And it creates a kind of vertigo effect with the focus of the background suddenly changing. Probably the most famous is in Jaws, in the get out of the water scene. I was looking online and I found this explanation of dolly zoom.
What exactly is a dolly zoom?
That son of a...
In short, a dolly zoom is a shot that uses a combination of camera movement and shifting focal length to stretch or compress the background.
And in the X1 Pro, this is how it looks. It does the shot by flying backwards and electronically zooming in. You can set how far and how much to zoom. Then it flies back in, so you have two versions of the shot. The new indoor follow is a close, mid-shot only version of cycling mode with a narrow route, but it doesn't like sharp turns, and I had to go very slowly for the X1 Pro to follow me. The whole thing felt rather hesitant. But we have a small cottage in the Scottish Highlands in a more open indoor environment. If that's not an oxymoron, this could work quite well. You can show off your crib, man. Just before the next one, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to the people who support this channel, who have become members. These are the names of my production crew and adventure crew, as they're called. If you'd like to find out more, just click the join button below any video, except if you're watching on an iPhone. And then I'll pop up and explain everything. Right, next one. Updating the X1 Pro firmware is straightforward. It even talks you through it. The firmware downloads to your phone, then uploads to the aircraft. It's the next steps you need to do in the right order to successfully use either of the manual extras. I have the beacon and joystick combo. Both need separate firmware. First, connect the beacon to the X1 Pro or Max, because this is where it draws the firmware from, not your phone. It should recognize there's an update, and if not, there's a drop-down menu on the beacon screen, as we will see. After the beacon updates, connect the right-hand joystick controller. Here I had to look for the update, that's the red dot, and select it in order to update. Again, your phone isn't involved, and once these are both updated, you're good to go. With the beacon alone, you can now take emergency control. There's a handlebar mount and a clip mount for a jacket. Now with the beacon, you can perform an emergency stop and take very limited control of the X1 Pro's movements. I can move it forward and back, so I could get it out of trouble if there was something close to me, or I could move it away. And with this one, I can bring it down. I'll just put my hand underneath and land it. So clearly this is not designed for routine flying, but it is a useful thing if you've got this clipped to your jersey or you've got it on your handlebars. You can quickly take control if necessary. The single joystick control is probably my favorite. Put the right hand part of the joystick assembly on the bottom of the beacon, and now you've got a single unit to manually control it. There's a button on the back, and pressing that allows you to use your action to send the drone forwards or backwards, side to side, and then the joystick on the top gives you the up and down control. So from there to go forwards, to go left, back, left, right, down, up, bring it back to me, down. In this configuration, the gimbal control didn't work for me, but you get the idea. With both joysticks in place, this is what it looks like. Looks like a proper controller. You could just view it on the beacon's screen, but you can also add your phone as an even bigger viewer. So let's get this going. In this configuration, the X1 Pro has many of the features of other drones. The gimbal tilt is on a wheel by the left fingers. So this is it flying in full manual, and it flies just like any other drone really. It's neat, you can see what you're doing, and I quite like it. That's my cable, by the way, it's not the one that came with it. The thing you don't have with this is the sort of DJI quick shots. You can't put a box around something and then track it when you're flying manually, or at least you can't in my experience. But they're updating the firmware all the time, and this video could be out of date by the time you see it. However, I can see no way of changing the camera exposure. I would usually underexpose by 1/3 of a stop. I could add neutral density filters, sort of sunglasses for the lens, but these seem too dark, more suited to bright snow. That's something I'm sure HoverAir will be aware of and will be changing. I accidentally gave the X1 Pro a very tough cycling test just after I received it. 12 miles an hour. I wanted to see how fast it would follow me downhill. 21, 26. And the result? Well, I couldn't have done it again if I tried. Could I ask you to take a look at that video, please? You will find it here. Thumbs up if you enjoyed this one, please, and I'll see you again next time.